we're back. Week 3. Brace the hammer. Premier League predictions. We're trying to redeem ourselves from last week, where Shourjya was the only one who had a decent week at 4-5. Charlie finished at 2-7, and I was a measly 3-6. But as any Premier League week can teach us, it's always a new week and always a new opportunity to do well. This week, Shourjya, 5-5. Good man, keeping it strong. Charlie, a little disappointing again at 4-6, and of course, rising to the top as the cream always does. Me, Charlie, at 6-4. What do you guys have to say for yourself?
Listen, this is a marathon, not a sprint. What I think you'll find is that the cream rises to the top eventually, and just because you're there now doesn't mean that you're going to be there at the end of the season.
Fair. That's fair.
I'm a Terp. I go to the University of Maryland. Slow and steady wins the race, so I'm just going to back my boys.
All right. Well, it's a brand new week, and you get to redeem yourselves, of course. Right now, that puts Shourjya and I both tied at 1 on the leaderboard, and we're just going to dive right into things. We're going to go to Etihad Stadium, Man City and Borough. Man City coming off surprising ? Win over Barcelona. They got to be feeling good. But Borough's a dangerous team, and you might take them for granted. What do you think's going to happen?
Shourjya, you can start. Shourjya, you can start.
Well, Borough, I picked them to lose against Bournemouth last weekend, but Gaston Ramirez is such a fantastic player, and I think is very underrated. He was on loan at Borough from Southampton, I think, and he helped them get back to the Premier League. Then he signed a permanent deal, and now he's been banging in goals. He's been doing great. That run from like their defensive third all the way, cutting across their defender, fake shotting past his defender, and then putting it in bottom right corner. Fantastic. One of the goals of the weekend, I think. So I think it's going to be harder for Man City this week. Obviously, they're playing so well now. They almost seem rejuvenated, if you can even be rejuvenated, like a quarter of the way through the season. So I can't see Borough giving them too much trouble. They're going to give them more trouble than West Brom. I'm going to say 3-1 Man City.
Wow, that's funny. That was exactly my prediction. I had 3-1 Man City. I think you're right. I think they look rejuvenated. They were definitely playing with more tempo, and they looked like they were playing with determination, considering what happened in Barcelona last time. So I totally agree with you. I think 3-1. I think Borough will put up a fight, but they're playing at the Etihad, so yeah.
They're a good team, Borough.
They are. They absolutely are. But they're running into a train right now, and I just don't see them moving out of the way in time.
Yeah.
Charlie, what do you got?
I agree with basically everything you said, except for the fact that I've gone for 1-1. I think that Man City were last week. I said they were going to demolish team ahead of them, and they did. I wasn't confident for them against Barcelona, and yet second half they proved me about as wrong as I was humanly possible to be. Kevin De Bruyne around the game, but for Middlesbrough are a decent team. They went to the Etihad a couple of seasons ago in the cup and beat them while they were still in the Championship, and I'm backing them for a 1-1 draw. I think City are probably still going to be a little bit tired from that performance against Barcelona, and that might play to Middlesbrough's hand. So I'm going to say 1-1, and I'm going to throw this in. It's going to be an Adama Traore goal because I love him.
Do you know what the score was last time when they did play? When they did play each other back in like 2008.
Wasn't it 8-1?
8-1.
Yeah.
8-1.
That is shocking.
To Middlesbrough.
To Middlesbrough. But again, that was 8 years ago. We're looking at a different Man City organization, so it probably shouldn't be held against them.
They've got Guardiola, so obviously they're going to win the league in September.
All right, moving on to Stamford Bridge, Chelsea, Everton. We saw a lot of Everton last week, didn't we? They look good. They look like a different Everton team from we saw last year. That's been the word all year round, and they keep proving that week after week. But they're also running into Chelsea, who is also coming off of an impressive win, I'd say, against Southampton. It was tough to beat in Southampton. So, yeah, what do we think? Georgia.
Yeah, Chelsea, after that 3-0 loss to Arsenal, they look a completely different team. I think three at the back is really working for them. That's what they're playing, right? That's what they changed up to. I think the last time they played four at the back was against Arsenal, and then Cahill and Luis looked completely out of sorts. But they've when Conte's playing well, they're a different team, and he has been playing well. So I think Chelsea. I mean, Everton's really good, and every bitter Southampton fan will tell you that Everton's going to collapse because Koeman has obviously left, but
Right.
he's really changed this team. He really has. And the players he's brought in, over the summer he got a lot of criticism for buying Balassi for 30 mil, locking up Lukaku. Did he lock up Lukaku this summer, or was it last summer? I think he kept Lukaku this summer because Chelsea wanted Lukaku. So holding on to Lukaku, getting Balassi, getting some other key additions like Idrissa Gueye, who is magnificent, and we're playing as a team, And this is a tough one to call because both teams one team is sort of like not a top four challenger, but they're playing like one, and the other team. Technically also not a top four challenger from last year at least, and they have this new coach. They're reinvigorated, but I don't see Chelsea losing. But here's the thing: maybe Lukaku comes back to bite Chelsea in the butt, because Mourinho selling him away, stuff. It's too poetic to not happen. So I'm going to say it's going to be 2-1 Chelsea. I'm still going to say Chelsea's going to win this one. Because Costa and Hazard are just playing out of their minds at the moment. But the game is going to be up and down. I think Chelsea's going to go, or Everton's going to go up, Chelsea's going to equalize and win it, or the other way around. It's going to be a back and forth game, but I think Chelsea's going to come out on top. 2-1 Chelsea.
All right, I more or less agree with you. I think this Conte team is I think this is exactly what they needed, and Conte coming out from it's weird, right? So like Leicester, they lose Conte and they're kind of middle table. They're not as good as they used to. They look a little weak in the midfield. They, I guarantee Conte misses or they miss Conte throwing down the long ball to Vardy and sprinting ahead. And now that Chelsea has that, they just look so much tighter and so much more in line. Yeah, I don't see this going any other way than Chelsea winning. And my big fear is that this might be the return of Chelsea for the rest of the year. They're just playing so well, it's so hard to see them revert back to what was going on last year. I like the way Everton played. Do I think they're a top four team? I don't know how that would play out, but I think Chelsea could be. So I'm sticking, and I don't mean to keep copying you, Shourjya, but I wrote down 2-1, so I'm going to stick with that, 2-1 Chelsea.
Nice.
I am gonna. The Everton West Ham match reminded me a lot of when West Ham faced Leicester towards the beginning of last season, and by that I'm not by any stretch of the imagination suggesting Everton will win a league, but Ronald Koeman knew exactly what to do tactically at the exact right time. During the Leicester match last year, we started to put pressure on Leicester in that second half. And they were in the lead, and we started to put pressure on them. And Ranieri knew the exact right moment to bring on the exact right substitution to just kill the game out. And against Everton last week, we were putting pressure on them early on, and they looked a bit shocked by that. And Koeman figured out that if you just sit off us, then you can get something here because we don't deal well with being the aggressors. We deal well with being the counter-attackers. And it's super impressive to have a manager who can, all managers can make changes, all managers can make substitutions. Do you know what I mean? Everyone in the crowd looks at a team and says, oh, they need to bring on this player or they need to take off that player. But to be tactically aware enough to know exactly what to do at the exact right time is just a whole nother level. And Koeman is a fantastic manager. But Chelsea are obviously very good. But I am going to say 2-2, the second draw I've predicted this episode. I just think that I think Chelsea, like you say, Costa, Hazard, people like that, are playing too well not to at least score 2 at home. But I I'm backing Koeman and this Everton side and Lukaku specifically. And I think what I've seen of them, I've been incredibly impressed by. So I'm going to go 2-2.
Moving on to Anfield, Liverpool host Watford. This is interesting, isn't it? I mean, they're both high paced, they're both high energy. I mean, if there was a fun factor for this week, I feel like this is it. And going back, Liverpool won in May. They beat them 2-0. But year before, in December, Watford blew out Liverpool 3-0. I mean, that was a different Liverpool team, but I bet they'll remember it going into the match. What do you think?
I completely agree with the idea that this is the fun game. I think that you've got two teams who can be just super devastating on their days. You know, like as attacking forces go, they're both pretty decent, and as defensive forces go, they're both pretty susceptible at times as well.
They gave up 2 goals to Crystal Palace last week. So
yeah, I mean, West Ham have gone 16 games without a striker getting a goal or assist, and even we scored twice against them. Like, like they are both very susceptible in that sense, and so I'm excited for this game. I feel that as I continuously say all of the time, Klopp is Bay, Klopp is the dude, Klopp is the man, and that Liverpool attacking force is just too hype for me to deal with, and so I'm going to say 3-1 to Liverpool. But I can't, with the way Liverpool defend and how Watford can be so good on the break, I can't see them not getting a goal. But I also think Liverpool are going to get the win, so I'm going to go 3-1.
all right, that's not too far off from what I had as well. I have Liverpool winning 2-0. I don't see Watford scoring here. I did think it was interesting that Coutinho, who's been criticized in the past, has really flourished under Klopp. I mean, he's leading the team with 4 assists, but he's also tied with Firmino for the most goals at 4 as well. I think that's when you're operating on both cylinders like that, dishing it out and finishing that's just wonderful to watch, and I really look forward to watching this game. So I'm going to go 2-0 Liverpool in this.
Yeah, and I'm going to chip in and say 2-1 Liverpool. That's what I had. I do see Watford getting a goal somehow. But as you said, this game is one of those fun factor ones, and it definitely was fun last week with MacArthur pulling them even at 2 in the first half. But then it kind of went crazy when Matip scored and Firmino kind of iced the game. So I think it's going to be kind of similar, just less scoring this week. So I'm going to back Firmino to ice the game again, though. That's my hot take for the week.
Your hot take, Firmino icing.
Firmino icing it.
All right, I'm holding you to it.
Okay.
Now for the moment I've personally been waiting for, and I'm sure Shourjya has as well. We're going to Emirates Stadium, where we might see the return of the great, the wonderful, the beautiful Harry Kane. Yeah, I gotta say I've never been more nervous. I don't want to say more nervous. I haven't been as nervous for a North London derby in a really, really long time. I don't know. We're recording today on a Wednesday, and Spurs just lost, of course, to Bayer Leverkusen. And all I'll say is 30 million. 30 million for Sissoko. I don't get it. He's horrible. I remember Newcastle fans when they were still fighting for relegation. They were saying, "Oh, Sissoko's the worst. He only plays when he wants to play." Blah blah blah. And I didn't watch a lot of Newcastle games, so I was like, "All right, maybe." But then I watched him play for France in the Euros, and I was like, "Who is this guy? Amazing!" Taking on teams by himself and making them look bad. So when the announcement came that we beat out for Everton for Sissoko for 30 mil, super, super excited. And we haven't seen anything close to what he did in the Euros in a Tottenham kit. So, we're Kaneless, we're Tobyless, we look a little bit lost. Dele's he looks to fall more than he looks to dish out the pass. Eriksson is the only one playing well, but it's tough to see because he's the distributor. So he's trying to create chances, but they're just not there. I'm
Lloris some
terrified.
credit, too.
I'm terrified, Shourjya. What do you think?
I'm a little less terrified because it's always high stakes when it comes to the North London derby. In recent years, Arsenal's always been the better. They've obviously been the better team, but I kind of like how well Tottenham's doing.
Would you say including last year? I think they're pretty even last year.
They're even last year, but I'm talking about on the grand scheme of things. Like ever since Bale left, it kind of got to the point where it was going to be. We were going to. I mean, for the past couple of years, it's mostly been draws and that one win that Harry Kane provided you guys. But in 2013, we did the double over you guys. In 2014-15, it was 1-1 at the Emirates and then 2-1 at White Hart Lane. And then last year, it was both draws. So I kind of compare it to, for our American audience, I kind of compare it to like when the Jets play the Patriots because they're obviously miles apart, but whenever they face each other, they give it their best shot because they know it's such a high stakes game. And that's why I always feel nervous for this game because no matter what, Spurs are coming at us. And yeah, there's a lot of disorganization in the defense, but Lloris is playing out of his mind at the moment. And Eriksson, he'll do something. He'll have a free kick at the edge of the box that he'll put in. They create problems for us. So that's why I'm nervous.
To be fair, I haven't seen Eriksson take a good free kick since I don't know, maybe September of last year. He was really hot where he scored like 6 goals from a free kick position, and then he just stopped. And I think everybody's wondering where that went, where that is.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing really well at the moment, and with Arsenal, you never know. That's the problem, Like every time I try and get excited, I'm like, oh wait, when are we gonna choke? So I think last year when Coquelin got sent off and then Alexis got the equalizer in like the 74th minute or whatever it was, that was a great result for us because coming in the game, everyone had Tottenham winning. It was at home for them, and everyone was just they were second.
Off, what, like 6 wins or 5 wins in a row? That
yeah, 5 or 6 wins, and we were kind of in our like March slump or like. In February, we hit like some sort of speed bump where we just lose to some team like Swansea or draw against a smaller club. So we were weak. It's kind of the opposite right now. So I'm really hoping it doesn't end in a draw because that's no fun for anyone.
Yeah. Though I think Spurs fans might take it at this point.
Yeah.
Who do you think your key player is to stop whatever Tottenham might try to put together?
Who's my key player to stop?
Yeah. Or who's the key player to control the game for Arsenal?
Oh, Alexis, hands down. Because he's gonna start. I think Giroud as a super sub is gonna be very key because we saw what he did last week: 2 goals in his first 2 touches, and then he also scored against Ludogorets in that comeback win midweek. So he's in form. He's banging form. So is Sanchez. Sanchez, even if he's not scoring, he's creating, and he's just.
Yeah, I think he's leading the team in assists.
Yeah, he's leading the team in assists. Ozil, I think, just got his first assist of the year against Sunderland, but
Ozil's been really good.
Yeah, because Ozil's been good. He's injured, so.
Is he? There you go.
Yeah, he is. Lucky for you guys because he's really been control. And I really like him because he's come into his own in that deeper role. And with his distribution and just both feet being so technically good, he can distribute from back there. And whereas Xhaka, he's more of a box-to-box midfielder, we found out. Because when we brought him in, everyone was like, oh, we found the new Vieira. But he's not a traditional CDM. He darts forward. So he's more of a box-to-box guy. And then Ramsey on the wing against Ludogorets was just bad. We need Ramsey and Cazorla, Ramsey and Xhaka in central defensive midfield and Cazorla is probably not going to play on this weekend. So if Cazorla plays, he's definitely a factor. He's one of the guys who's going to be controlling the game from deep. And I don't know what else there is to say about this game. I mean, is Kane supposed to be? There's a lot to
Yeah,
say.
so it's funny. It all kind of depended on what we saw today. I think if we would have saw Harry Kane come in the last 10 minutes, he might have had a larger role going into Sunday. But as it is, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he'll probably come off the bench. I believe he will. He's been in full practice, so there's no reason he shouldn't at least play some minutes. And I think he really wants to. This has been his thing. He loves it. So I expect that to happen. I think my key player would be Wanyama. He leads both team in tackles by far. He really controls. And if anybody's going to stop like Walcott and Sanchez, and it's going to have to.
I was going to say Wanyama because he's such a pest in the field. And when he played for Southampton, he frustrated me so much. So I feel like that in a Spurs shirt would just do me good.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he does make silly tackles and get silly cards sometimes. So hopefully he does. The atmosphere doesn't get the best of him, but I think he could be a real threat and really slow down the Arsenal attack. We'll see. You never know what happens. Like you said in these games, they're immensely intense. And I know you compared it to Jets Patriots. I'm gonna step it up and compare it to like Yankees Red Sox, with us being the Red Sox historically. Not doing so well against the Yankees in the 90s or so, but in the early 2000s. But in late years, we've really started putting up a fight, and I feel like maybe you're always finishing ahead of us, but we have a pretty good team these days, and I'm confident. I'm gonna stick with my boys. I'm gonna say we're gonna go with the 2-1 victory. I'm not even going for the draw. I'm going for straight victory, 2-1.
I'm gonna say 2-0 Arsenal. I'm going to back the boys as well. And it's funny that you turned the Red Sox on me because you knew I was a Red Sox fan, and you compared Tottenham to them. So you sullied that.
Funny? Bill Mailbag, what's his name on ESPN? He got fired recently. Bill
Simmons.
Yes, Bill Simmons. He wrote an awesome article in like 2010 when he started watching the EPL. He wrote this huge article about how he went about picking his EPL team, and he compared every single team that was in the league currently to what a sports team they would be like in the United States, and he broke it down like that. And it was like a 5-parter. It was this massive thing. And if you haven't ever read it, you should. It's really entertaining. And he compared the Spurs to the Red Sox, and he made some compelling arguments, and that was actually the team he went with.
So he's a Spurs fan.
Yeah, I knew.
Bill Simmons is dead to me now.
But he's such a Red Sox fan.
He's such a Boston icon. Like he's a huge Celtics fan, a huge Patriots fan, and then he just has to go ruin it. Like John Cena. John Cena's a huge. That's a conversation for another day. But all these Boston icons becoming Spurs fans, man. I mean,
I think we lost Charlie. Charlie, what's your quick recap? What do you think of the score?
Yeah.
Well, I think talking about John Cena is a conversation for every day. Now, as someone who is doing a podcast with an Arsenal fan and a Spurs fan, especially the Spurs fan who happens to be the manager of the site I write for, I am now going to attempt to politically maneuver my way around this. Some people you picked out, Wanyama, I think exploded onto the scene with that unbelievable performance against Barcelona when he was at Celtic, and he continues to be that kind of player. Occasionally, I think he's hot-headed and a madman. I remember him basically killing Payet one day when he was at Southampton.
Yeah, you got that red card.
Yeah, but for a reckless, stupid challenge, he shouldn't have even. That only happened because the red mist descended. But on his day, he can be super good at that DM role and really break up the play like very few people can. And this is the sort of game you'd want him to thrive on. Another player you picked up on, Musa Sissoko. I wasn't going to mention him just because I think it's pointless, but I just want to say he's a poor man's Mo Diame. That's just I grew up and lived for the majority of my life right next to where Arsenal were. I would be Highbury or the Emirates. I was born near here. I grew up here near here and everything. So the London Derby for me represents a Saturday where I don't go outside because it is a war zone. I remember going past, for people who have been to the match and sort of know the local area, Finsbury Park Tube Station, which is right by where Highbury is and where the Emirates is. Going past there on Saturdays when the match was happening, and just glass bottles just flying across the street. as Spurs and Arsenal fans get to the ground and having to go through that as a kid. And so for me, I don't think about the footballing side of it more than I think about the logistics of, I should probably go shopping on Friday night instead of Saturday morning, just for the sake of not getting in anyone's way. However, purely from a footballing perspective, this is the most interesting London derby for a long time, just because Spurs have got to the point where they are good now. There was a long time where Arsenal would be the team battling for the title, especially when I was growing up, in the early 2000s. The team battling for the title would be Arsenal, and Tottenham would just be 6th or 7th all the time. Whereas now they're sort of not equal, but because at this point in the Premier League, I don't know who's equal and who's not, but they're butting heads a little bit. They're getting really close. And so tactically, that side of it, super interesting. The score I've gone for has been influenced mainly by what happened in the Champions League, and not really by the result, although partially, but more by the fact that Spurs played a day later and they also played their full team. If they had rested some people, and I know they brought in Winks and stuff later on in the game, maybe, but I am going to say Arsenal 3, Tottenham 2, purely because I think playing a day later in the Champions League is really difficult. And although Arsenal were away, and so obviously playing journey back in that, but I do think that's going to play a part in it. And although Pochettino teams are so well drilled physically and are so stamina-wise so impressive over the course of a season, I think in this tiny microcosm, that might be the thing pushes Arsenal onto victory. So I apologise, Jonathan. Please don't kick me off Race the Hammer. But I'm going to say Arsenal 3, Tottenham 2.
Also, Dembele is injured. That's a big blow for Tottenham.
He's not playing.
Well, Arsenal, Carl Jenkinson is injured, and that's a blow for everyone in life. So
that's a blow for banter in general.
Yeah. I really wanted to see a Carl Jenkinson 90th minute winner in this game, but unfortunately, it's not to happen yet.
Bummer. Well, as I say, all's fair in love and football. So, that being said, we're moving on. West Ham, Stoke City, the reason we're here today, not the North London Derby, as much as we'd like to talk about it. I mean, coming off of last week, and it was, what happened? Did they just give up out of frustration at some point? I feel like the first half team and the second half team were two totally different teams, and the energy just kind of died, as if they knew that they just couldn't put anything together against Everton. And every time they tried to string a couple of passes together, it didn't work out for them. They just looked deflated. I don't know. And Stoke's playing well. They're coming off of 3 victories. Again, of course, they're playing the bottom 3 teams, Swansea, Hull, and Sunderland, but there's still 3 wins. I'm really not sure what to make of this. What do you think?
Those are those relegation 6-pointers that they talk about. Getting wins for them are big, especially
Absolutely.
for teams that are near the bottom. It's like getting a draw is a big hit for a title challenging team. So getting wins for them, a draw is kind of what they normally would expect. Getting a win, that's break out the beers. So I just think that the second half was so demoralizing with Lukaku's goal. That was so. I mean, Charlie, what do you make of it? You predicted a Lukaku goal, and when that happened, I thought of you. As soon as that happened, I was like, "Oh man, Charlie!"
Well, the world predicted it, right? And I think West Ham the West Ham players almost predicted it, and as soon as it happened, they were like, "Geez, we're really not meant to win this game."
Yeah, I can't remember who it was who exactly tweeted it, but in the morning I did see a great tweet. Who was someone said, "Happy Lukaku scores against West Ham Day."
Yeah, I tweeted that. Yeah.
It was what was worse. Everyone predicted Lukaku would score, but what was worse about that was the way he scored was so unbelievably simple for him. In the fact that he was stood behind the goalkeeper in the 6-yard box, and there wasn't a defender near him. They all just stood there and watched it happen. And although you could argue centre-backs would have to be looking for late runners and stuff. When there's one of the most deadly strikers in the Premier League who is known for scoring against you is standing in the 6-yard box, you don't just leave him standing there. You do something. Yet the ball came back across the goal, and they all did nothing. They stood there like statues. I think I said it in the group chat for Brace the Hammer. You know, I've seen statues with more awareness of their surroundings than I did with our defenders that day. At points, it was ridiculous,
If
and
I
there was
remember, it was Ogbonna who was standing at the top of the box, almost
yeah,
just watching what was
yeah.
happening, right? It was just like, oh, look at this, a football match is being played. It's like, my man, get your head in the gate. What are you doing?
Yeah, and it was a catalogue of defensive areas for both goals. Really, you could pick out 3 or 4 things that went wrong, and on the Bilic, our biggest problem has been defense. You know, at the beginning of last season, we were strong on the counter attack, and then we sat as deep as humanly possible to stop other teams. But we still looked fragile. And now, you know, I thought, oh, the 3 at the back system it's changed it. We suddenly look good with 3 at the back, and with Obiang in midfield, we suddenly look like we can keep teams out. And then we were completely undone. I think Ronald Koeman did his homework perfectly for Everton. I think he looked at us and went, do you know what? If you sit back, then they can't break you down, and we just wait for them to roll out, and then we just punish them. And that's exactly what they did, and it worked to perfection. Having said that, Stoke are on a very good run. Everyone knows this, and I feel like they might be coming to us thinking, do you know what? This is a team who's weak. They're acceptable right now. On the run we are on, we could go to the London Stadium and we could punish them. And I think if they do roll up with that mindset and they try to push us and try to be the aggressor, I feel like it could be their downfall. They obviously have a great attacking talents, but as we've said before, you know, sometimes they turn up, sometimes they don't. And I feel like if they try to be the aggressor in this match, we will counter-attack and we will beat them. And I'm still probably more confident than I should be given last week's result. The interesting thing for me is the formation. How do we set up? Now Winston Reid's injured, now Winston Reid is not allowed to be in the match. How do we set up? Do we play that 3 at the back, or do we change to a flat 4? Personally, I want to see us play 3 and bring Oxford in. I think I want to see Oxford given a shot. And although it's an incredibly tough team for him to start against, this could be the beginning of a great run for him. So I'm going to say West Ham 2, Stoke 1. But that is on the proviso that they become to London Stadium and act like the aggressors when they really shouldn't.
Now you're saying Reece plays with 4 in the back?
3 at the back.
3 in the
So
back,
I want it to be
okay.
Ogbonna, Kiate, and Reece Oxford. And then the rest of the team sort of figure it out from there. I'd actually like to play Andre Ayew up front as well. I want to see him start. I want to see us almost play like a Liverpool-style front 3 with Ayew, Lanzini, and Payet. I think that could work.
I think there's no way Ayew doesn't start this game. And are we all on the Kiate bandwagon officially? Can we all get on there? I think.
As you're aware, I like him as a defender. I don't like him as a midfielder.
Right. Yeah. As soon as he stopped having to really make passes, he was much
then I'm
better.
all about it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in agreement with you. I think Stoke is. I think it's great. I think, you know, what do they say about good teams? They have to win the games they're supposed to win, right? And they do that. They drew against Man U, they drew against West Brom, but then they went ahead and beat Sunderland, Hull, and Swansea. They didn't just beat them; they beat them quite convincingly. But those again were teams they should beat, and I think West Ham is slowly getting all these players back, and they always start off each game with like a vibrancy, and I always feel like they have that belief in themselves, and I don't see why they can't beat Stoke. I really don't, and I think they should. So I'm going to go 2-1 as well for West Ham.
Yeah, this one's a tough one for me, just because Stoke, like you said, has won 3 games on the trot, and they're just playing so well. Arnautovic and Allen combining really well. Shaqiri is just the man. And I kind of made the I don't want to say I made the mistake, because I always back the boys, but I went wrong in predicting a West Ham win last week. So I'm a little skeptical this week, and I was initially going to say 1-1 draw, but I think I'm also going to get I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm feeling good about this weekend. So I think 2-1 for me as well.
Well, guys, if we keep agreeing with each other, we can't really separate from the standings. So I guess that's a good strategy. Real quick, let's visit the other games in the league. Not a long explanation, just a quick score would be fantastic. Bournemouth, Sunderland, Shourjya, what do you think?
2-0 Bournemouth.
Charlie?
3-1 Bournemouth.
Everybody's going Bournemouth. I don't see why not. I'm actually going to go with 1-0 Bournemouth.
I will say this: Jermaine Defoe will score on his return to Bournemouth, but it'll be 3-0.
Fine. I'm sticking with my 1-0 though. All right, Burnley, Crystal Palace. What do we got? Burnley's playing real well.
0-0.
Charlie.
1-0 Burnley, I think, at home.
I say Crystal Palace wins this one, 2-1. I'm not on the Burnley bandwagon yet. Moving over, Hull City.
You don't think Sean Dyche is the Ginger Mourinho?
No, I don't. Unfortunately,
That's what they've been calling him.
Ginger Pep. Ginger Pep,
Ginger
mate.
Pep is probably better. I think. Yeah, that's where you'd want to be these days. Hull City, Southampton. I'll start with that one. I'm going to go straight up 2-0 on Southampton.
3-1 Southampton.
I've also got 2-0 to Southampton.
Again, all this agreement. It's such fun. All right. Swansea and Man U. Is this the week?
This is the week that Bob Bradley
gets.
gets.
Is this it?
Bob Bradley gets his win, baby.
Oh, this is the week that Manchester finally wins a game?
No, I said Bob Bradley gets his
Okay.
win, baby.
I was confused. All right. That's what
I'm going to say 1-1.
Charlie?
I'm backing my boy Bob all the way, man. 1-0 Bob Bradley. It's going to happen.
Bob
Every
Bradley's
week.
going to score the goal. Bob's going to
Bob's
score.
going to jump in.
Mate, he's gonna come on. It's gonna be it's gonna be a diving header. It's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, off that bald head, that beautiful bald head of his.
Oh, it's gonna be glorious.
He's gonna pull Michael Bradley out of his pocket like a Pokemon and throw him in the middle of the field.
He's also gonna wear the turtleneck.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Side bet.
The light is gonna like glisten directly off his head into De Gea's eyes, and then bang, like a ninja, he sneaks in. Goal. I'm telling you, 1-0 Swansea. I'm doing it until they win. I don't care.
All right. I'm going to go with 2-0 Manchester United. Every week I'm going to keep picking them. They have to win eventually. This is like the most expensive team ever put together. If they don't win, what is the point of it all?
Yeah.
Leicester, West Brom. I don't see any way around a draw here. What do you guys think?
2-1 Leicester for me.
I'm taking the hot hand, Charlie.
I have 1-0 Leicester. I think they're going to be tired from the Champions League. They always seem to perform worse when they've had Champions League games. But West Brom are rubbish, so 1-0.
West Brom are rubbish, but they love draws, and I know they're playing at King Power Stadium. I just feel like Leicester will also be tired, and I'm going with the draw 1-1.
They've got more draws than IKEA.
Nice. They do. Tony Pulis loves IKEA. You might have stock. Okay. Well, that's it from us here at Brace the Hammer. Those are our predictions. This is hopefully our shortest episode to date. We'll see once we get in the editing room. But last shout out, everybody. Game of the week. What do we think? Is it obvious, or do we need to say
It's obvious. It's obvious.
All right. We'll see everybody in North London Sunday. Have a great week. Go Hammers.